The ancient secret that changed everything. Imagine waking up tomorrow with complete control over your thoughts, emotions, and actions. Picture yourself moving through your day with unshakable calm, making decisions with crystal clarity and facing challenges with the wisdom of ancient philosophers who shaped empires and influenced millions. This isn't fantasy. It's the reality that awaits you when you master the 6 fundamental Stoic lessons that have transformed ordinary people into extraordinary leaders, thinkers and achievers throughout history. Before we dive deep into these life-changing principles, I want you to do something crucial right now. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because what you're about to discover will fundamentally alter how you approach every single day of your life. These aren't just theories, they're practical tools that Marcus Aurelius used to rule the Roman Empire, that Seneca employed to become one of the wealthiest men in Rome while maintaining philosophical integrity, and that Epictetus leveraged to transform from a slave into one of history's most influential teachers. The modern world is designed to scatter your attention, fragment your focus, and keep you in a constant state of reaction rather than deliberate action. Social media notifications pull you in a dozen directions. Work demands pile up faster than you can address them. Personal relationships require attention you feel you don't have. Financial pressures mount. Health concerns linger. And through it all, your mind races from one worry to the next, never finding the peace and clarity you desperately seek. But here's what nobody tells you. The solution isn't to work harder, sleep less, or download another productivity app. The answer lies in principles developed over 2,000 years ago by men who faced plagues, wars, political upheaval, and personal tragedies that would break most modern individuals. Yet they didn't just survive, they thrived, leaving behind wisdom that has guided countless souls through humanity's darkest hours and brightest triumphs. Lesson 1. The dichotomy of control, the first and most fundamental lesson that will revolutionize your mental discipline, is understanding what the Stoics called the dichotomy of control. Epictetus, who spent the first part of his life as a slave, discovered a truth so powerful that it enabled him to find freedom even in bondage. We control our thoughts, decisions, and responses. But we don't control external events, other people's actions, or outcomes. Think about how much mental energy you waste every single day worrying about things completely outside your sphere of influence. You stress about what your boss might think of your presentation. You lose sleep over whether someone will text you back. You agonize over political decisions made by people you'll never meet. You check the weather forecast obsessively, as if your anxiety could somehow influence the clouds. Meanwhile, the things you can actually control, your preparation, your attitude, your responses, your choices, receive only a fraction of your attention. This isn't just philosophical theory. Neuroscience confirms what the Stoics intuited centuries ago. When you focus on things outside your control, your amygdala, the brain's fear center, becomes hyperactive, flooding your system with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. This chronic stress literally shrinks your prefrontal cortex, the brain region responsible for executive function, decision-making, and emotional regulation. You're not just wasting mental energy, you're actively damaging your capacity for clear thinking and wise action. Marcus Aurelius. While leading military campaigns on the frozen Danube frontier, watching his adoptive brother die, and dealing with a plague that devastated Rome, wrote in his personal journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This wasn't empty motivation. It was practical philosophy that enabled him to govern effectively during one of the Roman Empire's most challenging periods. Consider how this applies to your daily life. You're stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting. The conventional response is frustration, anger, perhaps road rage. Your blood pressure spikes, your mood sours, and you arrive at your meeting stressed and off balance. But applying the dichotomy of control transforms this situation entirely. You cannot control the traffic, that's outside your sphere of influence. But you can control your response. You can use the time to practice breathing exercises, listen to an educational podcast, mentally prepare for your meeting, or simply accept the situation with equanimity. This doesn't mean becoming passive or indifferent. It means directing your energy exclusively toward what you can actually influence. If you're stuck in traffic, you can control whether you call ahead to notify people you'll be late. You can control whether you leave earlier next time. You can control your emotional state and mental preparation. These are within your power, and focusing on them transforms you from a victim of circumstances into an agent of deliberate action. The practice begins with a simple morning exercise that takes less than 5 minutes, but will reshape your entire day. Upon waking, before checking your phone or rushing into your routine, sit quietly and identify 3 things you're worried about. Write them down. Now divide them into 2 categories: things within your control and things outside your control. For everything outside your control, practice saying, "This is not mine to control," and I release it. For everything within your control, identify one specific action you can take today to address it. This might seem simple, even trivial, but its power lies in consistent application. Every time you catch yourself spiraling into anxiety about uncontrollable externals, pause and redirect that energy toward what you can influence. Every time you feel overwhelmed by circumstances, return to this fundamental question: is this within my control? If yes, take action. If no, practice acceptance. The transformation doesn't happen overnight, but within weeks you'll notice a profound shift. Situations that once triggered hours of worry now pass through your awareness without disturbing your peace. Energy previously wasted on futile mental struggles becomes available for productive action. Your mind, no longer scattered across 1,000 uncontrollable variables, develops laser-like focus on what truly matters. Lesson 2. Voluntary discomfort. The second lesson strikes at the heart of modern comfort culture, the practice of voluntary discomfort. Seneca, despite being one of the wealthiest men in Rome, regularly spent days sleeping on a hard floor, eating only bread and water, and wearing his roughest clothes. This wasn't masochism or arbitrary self-denial. It was strategic, mental training that built Unshakeable, resilience, and freed him from the tyranny of comfort. Dependency. Our modern world has engineered comfort to an extent our ancestors couldn't imagine. Climate-controlled environments shield us from temperature variations. Food delivery apps eliminate the need to cook or even leave our homes. Entertainment streams endlessly at our fingertips. Every minor inconvenience has a technological solution. Yet paradoxically, we're more anxious, more fragile, and less satisfied than ever before. Here's the brutal truth. Comfort is making you weak. Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. When you never experience voluntary discomfort, every involuntary discomfort becomes a crisis. The air conditioning breaks and you can't function. Your phone dies and you feel genuine panic. A meal gets delayed and your mood crashes. You've become so dependent on external conditions for your well-being that you've surrendered your power to circumstances. The Stoics understood that voluntary discomfort serves multiple crucial purposes. First, it inoculates you against future hardships. When you've deliberately chosen to be cold, hungry, or uncomfortable, these states lose their power to disturb your peace when they arrive uninvited. Second, it reminds you of how little you actually need to be content, breaking the hedonic treadmill that keeps you constantly chasing the next comfort upgrade. Third, and most importantly, it builds mental toughness and self-discipline that transfer to every area of your life. Start with cold showers. This simple practice, taking less than 5 minutes each morning, triggers a cascade of physiological and psychological benefits. The initial shock of cold water activates your sympathetic nervous system, flooding your body with norepinephrine, a neurotransmitter that enhances focus, attention, and mood. Your breathing naturally deepens, increasing oxygen delivery to your brain. Your metabolic rate increases, burning additional calories and improving insulin sensitivity. But beyond these physical benefits, you're training your mind to remain calm in discomfort, to choose difficulty when ease is available, to override your comfort-seeking instincts with deliberate will. The first time you stand before that shower, knowing the water is cold, your entire being will revolt. Your mind will generate 1,000 excuses. You're too tired. You might get sick. You deserve comfort after working so hard. This is the critical moment, the point where you either strengthen your will or reinforce your weakness. Turn the handle. Step into the cold. Breathe through the discomfort. Stay present with the sensation rather than mentally fleeing. Within seconds, you'll discover something remarkable. It's not nearly as bad as your mind predicted. Within a minute, your body adapts. Within 2 minutes, you might even find it invigorating. But cold showers are just the beginning. Implement intermittent fasting, not just for the well-documented health benefits, but for the mental discipline of choosing hunger over instant gratification. When your stomach growls and your mind demands food, you have an opportunity to practice sovereignty over your impulses. You're proving to yourself that you control your actions, not your appetites. Take the stairs when elevators are available. Walk or bike when you could drive. Sleep on the floor once a week. Wear the same outfit multiple days in a row. Eat the same simple meal for lunch every day for a month. These aren't arbitrary hardships. They're training exercises that build mental strength the same way weightlifting builds physical strength. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, despite having access to every luxury the ancient world could offer, regularly practiced voluntary discomfort. He would sleep on a hard military cot rather than his imperial bed. He would eat soldiers' rations rather than palace feasts. He understood that leadership required the ability to endure hardship, and that ability atrophies without practice. Modern research validates this ancient wisdom. Studies on hormesis, the biological phenomenon where moderate stresses trigger adaptive responses that improve overall resilience, show that voluntary discomfort literally rewires your brain. Regular cold exposure increases brown adipose tissue, improving your body's ability to regulate temperature. Intermittent fasting triggers autophagy, cellular cleanup processes that reduce inflammation and slow aging. Physical challenges increase BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, promoting neuroplasticity and cognitive function. But the deepest benefit transcends biology. When you regularly choose discomfort, you develop what psychologists call an internal locus of control, the belief that you shape your outcomes rather than being shaped by external forces. This psychological shift correlates with virtually every positive life outcome: better health, stronger relationships, greater career success, improved mental health, and increased life satisfaction. If you're watching this and thinking, "I could never do that," I want you to understand something crucial. That voice telling you it's impossible? That's not wisdom, it's weakness. And it's lying to you. You are far more capable than your comfort-seeking mind wants you to believe. Hit the like button right now if you're ready to prove that voice wrong. And let's continue this journey toward unshakable mental discipline. Lesson 3, negative visualization. The third lesson might seem counterintuitive in our positive thinking-obsessed culture, but it's one of the most powerful tools for both mental preparation and genuine gratitude. The practice of negative visualization, or as the Stoics called it, premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Before you dismiss this as pessimism or worry-mongering, understand that negative visualization is the opposite of anxiety. Anxiety is involuntary, repetitive, and unproductive rumination about potential problems. Negative visualization is deliberate, structured, and strategic mental preparation that paradoxically leads to greater peace and appreciation. Seneca wrote, "What is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster." This is a reason for ensuring that nothing ever takes us by surprise. We should project our thoughts ahead of us at every turn and have in mind every possible eventuality instead of only the usual course of events. Here's how it works in practice. Set aside 10 minutes each morning for this exercise. Close your eyes and systematically imagine losing things you value. Start small. Imagine your coffee maker breaks, your favorite shirt tears, your phone screen cracks. Feel the initial frustration, then practice accepting these losses with equanimity. Gradually work up to bigger losses. Your job, your home, your health, even your life. This isn't morbid. It's practical philosophy that serves multiple crucial purposes. First, it eliminates the shock factor when difficulties actually arise. The human brain processes imagined experiences similarly to real ones, creating neural pathways that prepare you for actual challenges. When you've mentally rehearsed job loss, an actual layoff doesn't hit with devastating surprise. When you've visualized health challenges, a diagnosis doesn't shatter your world. You've already developed the mental framework to process and respond to these events with wisdom rather than panic. Second, and perhaps more importantly, negative visualization generates profound gratitude for what you currently have. When you vividly imagine losing your vision, opening your eyes to see becomes a miracle worthy of celebration. When you imagine losing your ability to walk, every step becomes a gift. When you imagine losing loved ones, their presence transforms from routine to precious. This isn't fake gratitude or forced positivity. It's genuine appreciation, born from understanding the fragility and temporary nature of everything you hold dear. Marcus Aurelius practiced this daily, writing, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly." This wasn't cynicism. It was mental preparation that enabled him to respond with patience and wisdom when people actually displayed these behaviors. By expecting difficulties, he wasn't surprised or disturbed when they arose. Let me share a practical example that will transform your relationship with material possessions. Choose your most valued possession, perhaps your car, your computer, your home. Spend 5 minutes vividly imagining its loss. See it destroyed, stolen, or irreparably broken. Feel the initial shock and loss. Then practice these thoughts. This was always temporary. I was fortunate to have it for the time I did. Its loss doesn't diminish who I am or my capacity for happiness. I can adapt and continue. Now, when you use that possession, you'll experience it differently. Instead of taking it for granted, you'll appreciate its current presence. Instead of feeling entitled to its continued existence, you'll recognize it as a temporary gift. And if you do eventually lose it, you've already developed the mental framework to process that loss with grace rather than devastation. This practice extends powerfully to relationships. The Stoics understood that everyone we love will eventually die, either before us or after. This isn't depressing, it's liberating. When you acknowledge the temporary nature of every relationship, petty arguments lose their significance. Minor irritations evaporate. You stop postponing important conversations, assuming there will always be tomorrow. Every interaction becomes potentially the last, infusing it with presence and meaning that routine obscures. Modern psychology has validated this ancient practice through research on defensive pessimism and mental contrasting. Studies show that people who mentally rehearse potential obstacles and setbacks actually achieve better outcomes than those who engage only in positive visualization. By imagining what could go wrong, they develop contingency plans, maintain realistic expectations, and paradoxically experience less anxiety when facing actual challenges. But here's where most people get this practice wrong. They engage in worry rather than strategic visualization. Worry is repetitive, uncontrolled, and focused on problems without solutions. Negative visualization is deliberate, time-limited, and always coupled with acceptance and planning. You're not spiraling into anxiety. You're building resilience through controlled exposure to difficult possibilities. Implement this practice with structure and boundaries. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Use specific scenarios to visualize. Work through them systematically. The event occurs. You feel the initial emotional impact. You accept the reality. You identify how you would respond. You recognize that life would continue. When the timer ends, the exercise ends. You don't carry it through your day as background anxiety. You've done the mental work. Now you can proceed with presence and peace. The transformation this creates is profound. People who regularly practice negative visualization report decreased anxiety about the future, increased gratitude for the present, and improved ability to handle actual setbacks when they arise. They stop living in fear of loss because they've already mentally processed and accepted potential losses. They stop clinging desperately to what they have because they understand its temporary nature. They develop what the Stoics called ataraxia, a state of serene calmness that external events cannot disturb. Lesson 4. View from above. The fourth lesson transcends the personal and connects you to the cosmic perspective that gave Stoicism its profound wisdom. The view from above. This mental exercise, practiced by Marcus Aurelius during the most challenging period of his reign, involves imaginatively rising above your immediate circumstances to see your life problems and concerns from an increasingly elevated perspective. Start by closing your eyes and imagining yourself rising above your current position. See yourself from above, sitting or standing where you are right now. Rise higher, seeing the room you're in, then the building, then the neighborhood. Continue ascending. See your city, your country, your continent. Keep going until you see Earth as a pale blue dot in the vastness of space. One planet among billions in a galaxy that's one among trillions. From this cosmic perspective, the problems that consume your daily attention shrink to their proper proportions. That work deadline that's keeping you up at night? From space, it's invisible. The social media drama that's occupying your thoughts? It doesn't even register. The financial worries, relationship conflicts, health concerns, all the things that feel overwhelming at ground level become part of a much larger picture that puts them in proper perspective. This isn't about minimizing genuine problems or becoming indifferent to life. It's about recognizing the relative scale of your concerns and freeing yourself from the tyranny of manufactured urgency that characterizes modern life. When you see your life from cosmic perspective, you realize that most of what stresses you literally doesn't matter in any ultimate sense. The universe existed for billions of years before you and will continue for billions after. Your temporary problems, no matter how pressing they feel, are fleeting perturbations in a vast cosmic dance. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Watch the stars in their courses as though you were accompanying them, and continually dwell on the changes of elements into one another. Such imaginings wash away the filth of life on the ground." He understood that this perspective shift isn't just philosophical abstraction, it's practical mental hygiene that cleanses your mind of petty concerns and reconnects you with what truly matters. But here's where this practice becomes truly powerful. After rising to cosmic perspective, slowly descend back to earth, maintaining that expanded awareness as you return to your immediate circumstances. See your continent, your country, your city, your neighborhood, your building, your room, yourself. But now you see yourself differently, not as the center of the universe, but as part of an interconnected whole. Your problems haven't disappeared, but they've assumed their proper proportions. You can address them with calm wisdom rather than frantic urgency. This perspective shift has profound neurological effects. Brain imaging studies show that practices involving expanded perspective activate the default mode network differently, reducing activity in regions associated with self-referential thinking and rumination. You literally stop being so self-centered, not through moral effort, but through perceptual reframing. Your brain stops treating every minor setback as an existential threat and starts processing experiences with greater equanimity and wisdom. The view from above also connects you to what Stoics called sympathia, the interconnection of all things. From cosmic perspective, you see that you're not a separate individual struggling against the universe, but part of the universe itself. The atoms in your body were forged in the hearts of dying stars. The air you breathe has been breathed by countless beings before you. The water in your cells has cycled through oceans, clouds, rivers, and other living beings for billions of years. You're not in the universe. You are the universe, temporarily manifested in human form. This recognition transforms how you relate to others and to life itself. Road rage becomes impossible when you recognize that the other driver is also the universe manifested in human form, dealing with their own challenges and perspectives. Envy dissolves when you see that another's success doesn't diminish you any more than one wave's height diminishes another. Fear of death softens when you recognize that you're not something separate that can be destroyed, but a temporary pattern in an eternal process. Implement this practice daily, especially when facing stressful situations. Before an important meeting, take 2 minutes to rise above and see the meeting from cosmic perspective. Before a difficult conversation, see both yourself and the other person from above, recognizing your shared humanity and cosmic insignificance. When overwhelmed by responsibilities, rise above and see your tasks as tiny movements in a vast dance that will continue regardless of whether you complete them perfectly. The practical benefits are immediate and profound. People who regularly practice the view from above report decreased stress, improved decision-making, reduced emotional reactivity, and increased sense of meaning and connection. They stop sweating the small stuff because they can literally see how small it is. They stop manufacturing urgency around non-urgent tasks. They develop what researchers call psychological distance, the ability to step back from immediate emotional reactions and respond with wisdom rather than impulse. Subscribe to this channel right now if you're finding value in these ancient practices, because we're only halfway through this transformative journey, and the remaining lessons will build on these foundations to create unshakable mental discipline. Lesson 5, Memento Mori. The fifth lesson confronts what modern society desperately tries to avoid, but what the Stoics considered essential for a well-lived life: memento mori, remembering death. This isn't morbid fixation or depressive rumination. It's the most powerful catalyst for presence, purpose, and passionate engagement with life that philosophy has ever produced. Every morning, Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that he might not see another sunset. Seneca wrote letters as if each might be his last. Epictetus taught his students to kiss their children goodnight while remembering that these small beings were mortal. This wasn't pessimism. It was profound wisdom that transformed how they lived each moment. Here's the paradox that our death-denying culture refuses to acknowledge. Pretending death doesn't exist doesn't make you live more fully. It makes you live less consciously. When you assume you have unlimited time, you postpone what matters. You delay difficult conversations, assuming there will always be tomorrow. You put off pursuing your dreams, thinking you'll get to them someday. You tolerate toxic relationships, believing you have time to waste. You scroll mindlessly through social media, squandering hours as if your supply were infinite, but you don't have unlimited time. If you're 30 years old, you have approximately 20,000 days left if you reach average life expectancy. That's not meant to frighten you, it's meant to wake you up. 20,000 days sounds like a lot until you realize you've already lived more than 10,000 days. And how many of those do you actually remember? How many were truly lived versus merely passed through? The Stoic practice of memento mori isn't about becoming obsessed with death. It's about becoming obsessed with life. When you genuinely internalize your mortality, everything changes. That sunset you barely notice becomes a masterpiece you might not see again. That conversation with a loved one transforms from routine exchange to precious connection. That creative project you've been postponing becomes urgent, not with manufactured deadline pressure, but with the authentic urgency of a limited life, refusing to die with its music still inside. Begin each morning with this simple practice. Look in the mirror and say, I am going to die. Not someday, I'm dying right now, slowly but inevitably. This day is one of a finite number remaining. How shall I spend this irreplaceable gift? This isn't depressing, it's electrifying. It cuts through the fog of routine and reconnects you with the preciousness of existence. Steve Jobs, though not explicitly a Stoic, understood this principle profoundly. He said, remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help me make the big choices in life. Because almost everything, all external expectations, all pride, all fear of embarrassment or failure, these things just fall away in the face of death, leaving only what is truly important. The research on mortality salience, awareness of one's own death, reveals fascinating psychological effects. When people are reminded of their mortality in healthy ways, they become more creative, more generous, more authentic, and more focused on intrinsic rather than extrinsic goals. They stop chasing status symbols and start pursuing meaningful experiences. They stop trying to impress strangers and start deepening relationships with people who matter. But here's where most people misunderstand memento mori. It's not just about your own death, but about the mortality of everything and everyone around you. Your parents will die, your children will die, your friends, your pets, your heroes, your enemies. Everyone you know is temporary. This civilization will crumble. This planet will eventually be consumed by the sun. The universe itself will experience heat death. Nothing is permanent except impermanence itself. This might sound nihilistic, but it's actually the opposite. When nothing is permanent, everything becomes precious. When you can't hold on to anything forever, you learn to hold things lightly and appreciate them fully. When you know every goodbye could be the last, you stop leaving important things unsaid. When you recognize that everyone you meet is dying, you develop profound compassion for our shared human condition. Practical application transforms this philosophy into daily practice. Before each meal, pause to recognize that living things died to sustain you. Plants or animals gave their lives for your continuation. This isn't guilt. It's gratitude and recognition of the cycle of life and death that sustains all existence. When leaving your home, look back and acknowledge that you might not return. Accident, illness, or violence could intervene. This isn't paranoia, it's presence and appreciation for the shelter that protects you. Create a death meditation practice. Once a week, spend 20 minutes imagining your own funeral. Who would attend? What would they say? What would they wish they had said to you while you lived? What would you wish you had said to them? This exercise clarifies your values and priorities with stunning efficiency. The opinions that seem so important now, do they matter from the perspective of your deathbed? The grudges you're holding, do you want to carry them to your grave? The dreams you're postponing, will you regret not pursuing them? Modern culture treats death as the ultimate failure, something to be defeated through technology, denied through distraction, or delayed through desperate medical intervention. But the Stoics understood that death isn't the opposite of life, it's the completion of life. A story without an ending isn't a story. It's just rambling. A piece of music that never concludes isn't a composition. It's just noise. Your mortality isn't a bug in the system. It's the feature that gives your existence meaning, urgency, and poignancy. When you truly embrace memento mori, procrastination becomes impossible. Not because you're frantically rushing to check off bucket list items, but because you recognize that this moment, right now, is the only moment you're guaranteed. The past is memory, the future is speculation, but this present instant is real, and it's already dying, transforming into the next moment, which is also dying. You're surfing a wave of perpetual becoming and dissolution, and the only sane response is full engagement with what's actually here. Lesson 6, Amor Fati. The sixth and final lesson represents the culmination of Stoic wisdom, the principle that transforms all the previous practices into a unified philosophy of life. Amor Fati, loving your fate. This isn't passive resignation or defeated acceptance. It's the most radical and powerful stance you can take toward existence. Nietzsche, deeply influenced by the Stoics, called amor fati his formula for greatness and wrote, "My formula for human greatness is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity, not merely to bear what is necessary, still less conceal it. All idealism is mendacity in the face of what is necessary, but love it." This principle challenges everything our culture teaches about success and happiness. We're told to fight against circumstances, to never accept defeat, to always strive for something better. And while ambition and improvement have their place, this constant resistance to what is creates perpetual dissatisfaction. You're always fighting reality, always wishing things were different, always postponing happiness until some imaginary future when conditions align with your preferences. Amor fati inverts this entire paradigm. Instead of demanding that reality conform to your wishes, you align your wishes with reality. Instead of seeing obstacles as impediments to your happiness, you see them as the path itself. Instead of dividing experiences into good and bad, desirable and undesirable, you recognize that every experience is necessary for who you're becoming. Marcus Aurelius exemplified this principle when he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." When plague struck Rome, he didn't waste energy wishing it hadn't happened. He used it as an opportunity to demonstrate leadership and compassion. When his adoptive brother betrayed him, he didn't spiral into bitterness. He learned from it and continued governing with wisdom. Every setback became a setup for growth. But here's what makes amor fati so radical. It applies not just to present circumstances, but to your entire past. Every mistake you've made, every trauma you've endured, every failure you've experienced, amor fati means loving all of it. Not because these experiences were pleasant, but because they've shaped who you are. That abusive relationship taught you boundaries. That business failure taught you resilience. That health crisis taught you what truly matters. Without these experiences, you wouldn't be the person capable of understanding and applying these very principles. This doesn't mean becoming passive or failing to learn from mistakes. It means recognizing that regret is a form of insanity, wishing the past were different when it cannot be changed. It means understanding that every moment of your life has led to this moment, reading these words, ready to transform your existence. If anything had been different, you might not be here, ready for this wisdom. The practice begins with small acceptances and builds toward total embrace. Start with minor inconveniences. Traffic jam? Instead of frustration, practice thinking, this delay is exactly what needs to happen right now. Perhaps it's protecting me from an accident ahead. Perhaps it's giving me time to think. Perhaps it's teaching me patience. I don't need to know why, I just need to love what is. Graduate to bigger challenges. Job loss? This is exactly what needs to happen for my growth. This apparent setback is setting up my comeback. This closed door is redirecting me toward an open window. I love my fate, including this difficulty. Relationship ending. This pain is sculpting me into who I'm meant to become. This loss is creating space for something new. This ending is also a beginning. I love my fate, including this heartbreak. The neurological impact of this practice is profound. When you resist reality, your brain activates stress responses, flooding your system with cortisol and adrenaline. Your prefrontal cortex, responsible for executive function and emotional regulation, goes offline. You literally become less intelligent and more reactive. But when you practice amor fati, accepting and even loving what is, your parasympathetic nervous system activates. Your brain shifts into a state of coherence. You access creativity, wisdom, and resilience that resistance blocks. This principle extends to your own nature and limitations. Perhaps you wish you were taller, smarter, more attractive, born into different circumstances. Amor fati means loving exactly who you are, not in spite of your limitations, but including them. Your struggles with anxiety? They've developed your empathy. Your learning disability, it's taught you alternative ways of understanding. Your difficult childhood, it's given you strength others can't imagine. You are perfectly imperfect, exactly as you need to be for your unique journey. The ultimate expression of amor fati is what Nietzsche called eternal recurrence. The thought experiment of imagining that you had to live your exact life, with all its pleasures and pains, over and over for eternity. Would you accept this fate? Would you embrace it? Would you love it? When you can honestly answer yes, when you wouldn't. Change a single moment because each was necessary. For the whole, you've achieved the highest form of human freedom. This isn't toxic positivity or spiritual bypassing. You don't have to like everything that happens. Pain still hurts, loss still grieves, injustice still angers. But beneath these natural human responses, you maintain a deeper acceptance, even love, for the totality of your experience. You recognize that you're not a victim of your circumstances, but a participant in a cosmic dance where every step, even the stumbles, contributes to the beauty of the whole. If this message is resonating with you, if you're feeling the stirring of transformation, hit that like button right now and share this video with someone who needs these principles. Don't let this wisdom end with you. Spread it to others who are struggling with mental chaos and life disorganization. Integration. Making these lessons your life now, we reach the crucial point where philosophy becomes practice, where ancient wisdom transforms into modern application. These 6 lessons, the dichotomy of control, voluntary discomfort, negative visualization, the view from above, memento mori, and amor fati, aren't meant to be intellectual exercises. They're meant to be lived, breathed, and embodied until they become your default operating system. The mistake most people make is trying to implement everything at once, becoming overwhelmed and abandoning the entire project. Instead, approach this like building a house, one brick at a time with patience and persistence. Start with the dichotomy of control for 1 month. Every morning, identify what's within your control and what isn't. Every evening, review how well you maintained this distinction. Only when this becomes natural should you add the next practice. Month 2, maintain the dichotomy of control while adding voluntary discomfort. Cold showers, intermittent fasting, or whatever challenge you choose. Month 3, add negative visualization to your morning routine. Month 4, incorporate the view from above. Month 5, begin memento mori meditation. Month 6, practice amor fati. By the end of 6 months, you'll have built a comprehensive, Stoic practice that transforms every aspect of your existence. But here's the secret that makes this sustainable. These practices aren't separate techniques. They're facets of a single diamond, each reflecting and reinforcing the others. The dichotomy of control teaches you what to accept, which prepares you for amor fati. Voluntary discomfort builds the resilience needed for negative visualization. The view from above provides perspective that makes memento mori less frightening. Each practice strengthens the others in an upward spiral of wisdom and capability. Create a morning ritual that incorporates these elements. Wake up 30 minutes earlier. This small sacrifice will pay dividends beyond calculation. Spend 5 minutes on the dichotomy of control, identifying what you'll focus on today. Take a cold shower, practicing presence with discomfort. Spend 5 minutes on negative visualization or the view from above, depending on what you need that day. Remind yourself of mortality, yours and others. Set an intention to practice amor fati throughout the day. This 30-minute investment will transform the following 16 hours. Develop evening reflection practices. Before sleep, review your day through the lens of these principles. Where did you waste energy on uncontrollables? Where did you avoid beneficial discomfort? What did you take for granted that deserves gratitude? When did you lose perspective and get caught in trivial concerns? How did you honor or dishonor the preciousness of life? Where did you resist reality instead of embracing it? This isn't self-flagellation, it's calibration, adjusting your course for tomorrow's journey. The obstacles you'll face are predictable. Your comfort-seeking mind will rebel against voluntary discomfort. Your anxiety will resist releasing control. Your ego will reject cosmic perspective. Your death denial will avoid memento mori. Your preference for ease will fight amor fati. Expect this resistance. Welcome it. It's not a sign that you're failing. It's proof that you're growing. Every moment of resistance overcome is a victory that strengthens your will. Find your tribe. Stoicism might seem like a solitary path, but it flourishes in community. Join online forums where practitioners share experiences and challenges. Start a local Stoic reading group. Find an accountability partner who's also implementing these practices. Share your journey on social media, not for validation, but to inspire others and create public commitment to your growth. Subscribe to channels like this one that provide regular reminders and fresh perspectives on these timeless principles. Track your progress, but not obsessively. Keep a simple journal noting which practices you completed each day and any insights that arose. Weekly, review your entries and identify patterns. Where are you strong? Where do you need more focus? What life situations trigger abandonment of these principles? What conditions support their application? This data becomes invaluable for refining your practice. Remember that perfection isn't the goal. Progress is. You'll have days when you completely forget these principles, when you're consumed by anxiety about uncontrollables, when you chase comfort and avoid challenge, when you're lost in petty concerns and forget life's brevity. This is normal. This is human. The goal isn't to become an emotionless sage, but to gradually increase the percentage of time you spend in wisdom rather than reactive chaos. The modern applications. Let's get specific about how these ancient principles solve modern problems. Your smartphone addiction? Apply the dichotomy of control. You can't control what notifications arrive, but you can control whether you check them. Practice voluntary discomfort by leaving your phone in another room for increasing periods. Use negative visualization to imagine losing all your digital data, creating perspective on its true importance. Take the view from above and see yourself from space, staring at a tiny screen while the universe unfolds around you. Remember memento mori. Is scrolling how you want to spend your finite hours? Practice amor fati by accepting that technology is part of modern life, while choosing conscious engagement over mindless consumption. Your career dissatisfaction. The dichotomy of control reveals that you can't control whether you get promoted, but you can control the quality of your work and the skills you develop. Voluntary discomfort might mean taking on challenging projects that stretch your capabilities. Negative visualization helps you appreciate employment while you have it and prepare mentally for potential job loss. The view from above shows your career as one small thread in humanity's vast tapestry. Memento mori asks whether you're in the right field given your limited time. Amor fati embraces your current position as the perfect training ground for wherever you're headed next. Your relationship challenges. You can't control your partner's behavior, but you can control your responses and contributions. Voluntary discomfort might mean having difficult conversations you've been avoiding. Negative visualization helps you appreciate your partner's presence while they're still here. The view from above reveals that your relationship conflicts are universal human experiences, not unique catastrophes. Memento mori reminds you that every argument might be your last interaction. Amor fati loves the relationship as it is, including its imperfections, while still working toward growth. Your financial stress. You control your spending and earning efforts, not market conditions or economic outcomes. Voluntary discomfort through deliberate frugality builds resilience and reduces dependency on income. Negative visualization of financial loss removes its terrorizing power. The view from above shows that your financial situation, whether abundance or scarcity, is temporary and ultimately insignificant. Memento mori asks whether you're trading your life for money in ways you'll regret. Amor fati embraces your current financial situation as the perfect teacher for lessons you need to learn. your health anxiety. You control your habits, not your genetic predispositions or random illness. Voluntary discomfort through exercise and dietary discipline builds physical resilience. Negative visualization of health loss creates gratitude for current function. The view from above shows your body as a temporary vehicle for consciousness, remarkable but not permanent. Memento mori reminds you that health is fleeting regardless of your efforts. Amor fati loves your body as it is while still caring for it wisely. The transformation process. As you implement these practices, you'll move through predictable stages of transformation. The first stage is intellectual understanding. You grasp these concepts mentally, but haven't integrated them emotionally or behaviorally. This is where most people stop, collecting philosophical insights like trophies, while their lives remain unchanged. The second stage is awkward application. You remember to apply these principles occasionally, usually after you've already reacted from old patterns. You catch yourself trying to control the uncontrollable, but only after wasting energy on it. You remember memento mori, but only when prompted by external reminders. This stage feels frustrating, like you're failing, but it's actually progress. You're developing awareness, the prerequisite for change. The third stage is conscious competence. You can apply these principles when you deliberately focus on them. Before challenging situations, you remind yourself of the dichotomy of control. You schedule voluntary discomfort and follow through. You practice morning meditations consistently. This stage requires effort and intention, but you see real results. Your stress decreases. Your resilience increases. Your perspective expands. The fourth stage is unconscious integration. These principles become your default response. Without conscious effort, you automatically distinguish controllables from uncontrollables. You naturally seek beneficial challenges. You maintain perspective without formal meditation. You remember mortality without morbidity. You embrace what is without resignation. This isn't a final destination, but an ongoing deepening of wisdom that continues throughout life. The timeline varies for everyone, but expect at least a year of consistent practice before reaching unconscious integration. This might seem long, but consider the alternative: spending the rest of your life in reactive chaos, stressed about uncontrollables, weakened by comfort, surprised by predictable setbacks, lost in trivial concerns, fighting reality at every turn. A year of disciplined practice to escape decades of unnecessary suffering is the best investment you'll ever make. The ripple effects. Something remarkable happens when you embody these principles consistently. You become a walking invitation for others to transform. Without preaching or proselytizing, your calm presence in chaos inspires questions. Your resilience in difficulty provokes curiosity. Your perspective in petty conflicts creates reflection. You become living proof that another way exists. Your children, if you have them, absorb these principles through observation more than instruction. They see you responding to setbacks with equanimity and learn that problems aren't catastrophes. They watch you choose discomfort and understand that growth requires challenge. They witness your gratitude for ordinary moments and develop appreciation for life's simple gifts. You're not just changing your own life, you're altering generational patterns. Your workplace transforms around you. While colleagues spiral into stress about deadlines and politics, you maintain focus on what you can actually influence. Your unshakable calm in crisis becomes legendary. Your ability to find opportunity in obstacles inspires innovation. Your perspective on office drama diffuses tension. You become the person everyone wants on their team, not because you're the most talented, but because you elevate everyone around you. Your relationships deepen and clarify. Surface-level connections fall away, unable to match your depth. But the relationships that remain become richer than you imagined possible. When you stop trying to control others, they feel free to be authentic. When you appreciate people's temporary presence, every interaction gains significance. When you love what is, rather than demanding what should be, others feel truly accepted, perhaps for the first time. The call to action. You've read over 9,000 words of ancient wisdom adapted for modern life. You've learned 6 principles that can revolutionize your mental discipline and life organization. But here's the brutal truth. If you don't act on this knowledge immediately, you never will. Your brain is already beginning to file this away as interesting information rather than actionable wisdom. The comfort-seeking patterns are reasserting themselves. The old chaos is creeping back. So right now, before you click away, make a commitment. Choose one principle, just one, to practice tomorrow. Set a reminder on your phone. Write it on your bathroom mirror. Tell someone about it to create accountability. Take one small step toward mental discipline before the inspiration fades. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, not just to support this channel, but to surround yourself with regular reminders of these principles. Ring the notification bell to ensure you don't miss future videos that will deepen and expand this practice. Like this video to help it reach others who are struggling with mental chaos and life disorganization. Share it with one person who needs this message. Leave a comment describing which principle resonates most strongly and why, but most importantly, begin. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when conditions are perfect. Begin now, with all your imperfections and doubts. Begin badly if necessary, but begin. The Stoics understood that wisdom without action is merely clever thinking. Philosophy without practice is intellectual entertainment. The transformation you seek isn't in the knowing, it's in the doing. The final truth, as we conclude this journey through Stoic wisdom, I want to leave you with one final truth that underlies everything we've discussed. You already have everything you need to live with unshakable mental discipline and perfect life organization. You don't need more information, better circumstances, or special talents. You need only to use the capacities you already possess. The ability to choose your focus, to endure discomfort, to imagine alternatives, to shift perspective, to acknowledge mortality, and to embrace reality. The Roman slave Epictetus became one of history's greatest philosophers, not because his circumstances were ideal, but because he used these principles to transcend them. The emperor Marcus Aurelius found peace while managing an empire in crisis, not because he had fewer problems than you, but because he applied these practices consistently. The wealthy statesman Seneca maintained equanimity through political persecution and eventual execution, not because he was superhuman, but because he had trained his mind through decades of disciplined practice. These men faced plagues, wars, slavery, exile, and death. They didn't have smartphones, but they had equally powerful distractions. They didn't have social media, but they had equally intense social pressures. They didn't have modern psychology, but they had the same human nature you're working with. If they could develop unshakable discipline in their circumstances, you can develop it in yours. The choice is stark and simple. Continue living in reactive chaos, stressed about things beyond your control, weakened by comfort, surprised by predictable challenges, lost in trivial concerns, fighting reality at every turn, or begin the disciplined practice that leads to mental sovereignty, emotional resilience, and philosophical peace. There is no middle ground. You're either growing stronger or growing weaker. You're either practicing wisdom or reinforcing folly. The universe has conspired to bring you to this moment, reading these words, ready for transformation. Everything in your past has prepared you for this choice. Every mistake has taught you necessary lessons. Every success has built necessary confidence. Every failure has developed necessary humility. You are perfectly positioned to begin this journey, not in spite of your current challenges, but because of them. Remember, the obstacle is the way. Your mental chaos isn't preventing your growth. It's the raw material for your transformation. Your life disorganization isn't a barrier to wisdom. It's the perfect classroom for learning these principles. Your struggles aren't punishments, they're invitations to develop strengths you didn't know you possessed. The Stoics await you, not as ancient ghosts, but as living voices speaking across centuries to remind you of truths that modernity has forgotten. They offer not easy answers, but powerful tools. Not comfortable lies, but uncomfortable truths. Not temporary relief, but permanent transformation. Subscribe to this channel now. Like this video, share it with someone who needs it. But above all, begin the practice. Start small, but start today. Choose one principle and apply it imperfectly but consistently. Build momentum through daily action. Trust the process even when progress seems slow. Your future self, calmer, wiser, more resilient, more organized, more disciplined, is waiting. Every moment you delay is a moment of unnecessary suffering. Every day you postpone is a day of missed growth. The time for philosophy is over. The time for practice has begun. Welcome to the discipline. Welcome to the organization. Welcome to the life you were meant to live.